Today, I really want to talk about JSON UI. The system that currently holds the main menu screen, the system that lets you customize within Resource Pack. Unlike our UI. It's been 2 months since the last time I uploaded a video, and oh boy, this amount of views was crazy. So after we talk about our UI customization, why don't we talk about JSON UI customization? I'm pretty sure Mojang is going to change this UI system like very soon. So I always wanted to have an opportunity to learn how JSON UI works before it completely disappears. You probably heard about clients resource pack like Deesee UI, Bedrock, Glacier Client, Azelux Client, and others. Those packs use JSON UI to modify the interface, which is pretty cool, and it could be one of the biggest Bedrock advantage. Now you're probably thinking, how can I learn JSON UI in 2026? Well, honestly, I don't know. I know JSON language itself is fairly simple to understand. It's basically a language to store and transferring data. For most code examples, it's pretty much self-explanatory that JSON is not an algorithm-based language like Python. JSON has a bunch of syntax rules and can be very useful in many fields because they hold the information depending on what the main program asks for. And that's the main problem for the JSON UI. Sure, it can be hard, but if you try to customize it without guidance, it is near impossible. And we are lacking tutorials talking about it. If I search Bedrock JSON UI tutorial, YouTube will likely give you Deesee's tutorial. But I want texture pack. I don't want to make an add-on or custom maps yet. I'm not taking this tutorial. So I wonder, is there a legit video talking about this? Well, fortunately though, I found Agent Mindstorm's tutorial, which is great for beginners. I started learning JSON UI from this guy, but it's getting harder to understand throughout the video, especially the middle part. So it's not enough for me. Later on, I found a website called Bedrock Wiki. It has documented everything about Bedrock development add-on, including JSON UI. But in my opinion, this website is not very beginner-friendly for learning JSON UI. I still catch up the basics, but the rest are too advanced, like it's a raw technical guidance. I don't even know what am I supposed to do. I tried using AI to make a video about JSON UI, but it's still lacking information for me to understand. And I thought, maybe because I'm terrible at learning, maybe I was too stupid to understand. Maybe this is just a waste of time. Despite me doom scrolling instead of making video, this is the end of my journey to learn JSON UI. It was until May 2026, along with my personal website development, I discovered a GitHub repository that changed my life. It's JSON UI Examples by Legend077, the guy which also made JSON UI tutorial on his channel. Still, I don't understand anything here, but he includes everything I needed to get started. Oh wait, it's Agent Mindstorm. While gathering all resources, I just realized I could make my own JSON documentation website using my knowledge on Doxify and Vibe coding. So I opened Replit, then I created a website to teach me JSON UI using all of the sources. And just like that, the website is complete. The result was mind-blowing, even it has a structured lesson. But I know I cannot trust AI since AI often gives you biased information. In that case, it has to come with an actual developing experience to fact-checking the website. If you want to see for yourself, just click on the GitHub link down below. Anyway, since my question about JSON UI in my head are finally answered, I would like to uncover some of them in this video. There are 6 topics I want to talk about. And a quick disclaimer, I still don't know how to use binding, how to make custom screen, or make a custom inventory. I'm not a JSON UI guy, so I apologize if I explain this like an idiot. But hey, I'll try my best to explain one of the hardest part in Bedrock Resource Pack. If you're an expert watching this, give your thoughts down below about your experience. So anyway, number 1, how to create an element. Let's go to startScreen.json so I can clearly show you exactly what I did. So to make a new element, we will define it under the file namespace. Create a string code for your element name, a colon, and then curly brackets. Inside here, you will define properties like type, size, and offset. Property is some sort of key value pairs to define an element. When you write property, the first property to define is type. These are the common values we can use for each types. For demonstration, let's use label type, which is for text. Since I use label type, you gotta tell what's the text by creating a text property. For example, hello world, written inside of string code. The next property you're gonna put is the position. By default, JSON element will be placed in the middle. So what you write here is anchor from and anchor to. These use a 9-point grid system, and the cheat sheet was already exists on Bedrock Wiki. And the last thing, the offset property, it's optional, but it lets you adjust x and y coordinates inside these square brackets. And that's what you need to create a single element. Number 2, how to display an element. What I'm talking right now is how to display the elements you have created to Minecraft UI. You might think it's already done, but it is not. Writing an element doesn't automatically show it onto the screen. You need to assign your element to the parent element. Here's a fun fact. Every screen, like startScreen.json, has a screen content, a special element on the very bottom which tells the content of the screen. According to Bedrock Wiki, this thing has a term called root panel. The root panel for main menu or startScreen.json is called startScreenContent. This is the root panel element that sends all UI components to the screen. I can't really explain what's going on over here, but what I do know, the root panel stores its component on the controls property. So what is control property really is? Does it really control something? Well, basically, controls property is a property that holds children element. Think of it like element list property. Because it's more like a grouping system, it groups JSON UI elements to the parent element. If that still doesn't make sense, Mojang actually refers to element as controls. Agent Mindstorm did mention it too. And you can see here, controls property is in fact a plural, and it holds a bunch of elements, which in this case referred as controls, so controls property is used to grouping bunch of controls. We will go further at the end of video and more about how to use it. Let's try to add elements to the controls property. First, go inside of the square brackets array, then create a JSON object syntax which contain one JSON element. Also don't forget the brackets. So now you've created your controls property, but we're still not done yet. You need to add another properties just like before to show it onto the game. And the result, it worked. And if somehow it doesn't appear, try adding layer properties to your element and set a height value on it. But wait, hold up a second. Mojang only need one weird looking element and it worked too? I mean, if you delete this, the whole component will gone entirely. So why does this complicated element by Mojang, which only has one line, could display everything? Well, let me explain. The reason is because this element actually calls another element Mojang previously added. If you pay attention, the end part of this thing was an element address which contained the namespace and the element, and when you search them, the true element exists which Mojang referenced with this element. The element we've just created didn't call our previous element. So what is this weird syntax for, and how does it work? I discovered in the basic of JSON UI, the purpose of this syntax is to copy another element. Number 3, how to inherit elements. Let me introduce extension syntax, according to AI, which means an element can extend to other element. The best analogy for this is copy style button in graphic design software. This allows any object to inherit similar properties from other object. Same to that, this element basically says, yo, start this element from common.button, and then it will take every single properties from pre-existing button element in the common namespace, so you don't have to write properties anymore. You can remodify its properties or keep it by not adding properties onto it. The element syntax consists of 3 components: element name, which can be anything, the inherit symbol, and element address. You can describe it with something like element name start from element address. Number 4, how to write element address. Every element defined in JSON UI files will automatically under the namespace to determine its location. For example, common.button refers to namespace common and element name button. When the game reads this, the game will call the requested element from the original location and add it to the extended element right after the symbol. Let's apply our knowledge back to the screen content topic. Same like before, but remove the properties and write the extension syntax. If we try to load the game, you can see that it's finally working. If it doesn't work, try adjusting position or layer, or maybe pay attention to comments you have missed. That's all about extension syntax. And the best part, it doesn't have to be inside controls property. You can also pull this out just like regular element. But I wanted to ask one more question. What if you want to make an element that extend an element that extend from other element? Okay, so this is the exact scenario. How can you display this label element that says mine while it's already extend from other label element that says craft? I'm gonna give you 3 seconds to guess the answer. The answer is, you only need to take the element name before the symbol and put it right after the namespace. In conclusion, in order to display an element, locate the screen root panel, then place a JSON object inside of controls array. Finally, write either element with properties or element that extends to other element. Number 5. How to use modification. Now you can display an element. I'm gonna tell the efficient way to do this rather than modifying controls property on the root panel. And this is what PackMaker does to prevent their UI breaks in the future. Modification is a property and a surgical tool of JSON UI. Instead of modifying the entire controls property, you can add, remove, or reorder specific element by using the following snippet. It works by deleting the whole root panel properties, then adding only one property, which is the modification. And in order to reinsert the element, you will do it in the value array, and you must include a JSON object, which is similar to controls property. There are many values options for the property array name and operation, which I can't explain right now, but this is the default code to show an element. As the result, it will work the same as modifying controls property from start screen content. You may confuse since it works the same as merging elements to the root panel, so why you must use modification instead? First, of course, you can have a clean code, and second, it can prevent outdated code. If you merge your custom elements within the vanilla root panel, that makes you keep all of this unimportant code, which can be changed by Mojang in the future. Just use the source code as reference. You can keep it as a template, and the modified one goes to the empty UI folder. Let's get back to what we learned about modification. You can insert your elements by adding one inside the value property. Modification is more than just adding elements by changing values for both array name and operation. And once you understand modifications, you will use it all the time. Now we finally reached the last topic of this video. Number 6. How to use control property. Previously, we talked about controls, which is a property for listing JSON object that each contains element. So let's understand how to use this in your custom UI. Introducing panel element. So what panel element does? Panel element groups bunch of children element, and the panel element will behave as its parent. So when the game tries to display them, instead of calling multiple element, you only need to call one. It's basically a grouping system in JSON UI. Let's talk about the snippet. This is where controls property comes in handy. Let me demonstrate how to do it by yourself. First, you're going to create an element with a type called panel, and then add a controls property. Inside this array, you create a JSON object and write your element inside of it. Other properties were optional, but you only need 2 properties to make it work. Panel element can be useful in many situations. For example, you might think the version text here is just one element. Well, it's actually 3. A panel consists of 2 other elements, the text and the background. So for example, if you want to create a text with a background, don't create one manually. Instead, you should copy the snippets from the vanilla, then edit the name, then edit the text, then adjust the element position and size. And there we go, we have a text with background. Okay, that's awkward. From what we have learned so far, JSON UI is not that scary to start, but the difficulty can be increased as you go advanced. As for closing, my suggestion to get good on JSON UI is go read documentation and practice by yourself. Look, I know that advice is very cliche and we already live in 2026. Advice number 2. Use AI to learn JSON UI because AI can explain things better than human, including myself, probably. Just a little bit cautious for biased information, but hey, you know you can use AI for knowledge research, so it's up to you. Congratulations for reaching out to this point. I want to say sorry for unable to make everything clear, but don't worry because I'm still experimenting with JSON UI and I want you guys to comment which part of JSON UI is the hardest and what can I explain for more. And as always, be red and blue.